I saw this chart online that showed which of these Serie A clubs were coached by these 7 Italian managers. It's meant to highlight the problems of Italian clubs constantly hiring the same people. It includes the potential upcoming hires for the 2026-27 season. I could delve deeper into the problems of Italian football, but it's quicker to take this to the extreme on Football Manager. At the end of every season, all these names will change clubs to ones they have not previously coached. Now, there will be exceptions, like Antonio Conte returning back to the Italian national team because he feels like it, or other clubs hiring new coaches after sacking one of these guys. The big rule, however, is that if you win the Scudetto, you will stay with your current club because why the hell would they be sacked? We'll do this for 5 years, see which manager and club can complete bingo, and which club and coach can find the most success. To start, Gianpiero Gasparini is hired by Juventus, Luciano Spalletti goes to AC Milan, Napoli brings in Maximiliano Allegri, Roma is forced to take in Stefano Pioli, Gennaro Gattuso is welcomed in by Lazio, and Maurizio Sarri takes charge of Atalanta. Kivu, meanwhile, stays at Inter. Advancing to the end of the 2026-27 campaign, what are the results? Well, it wouldn't be Serie A without any managers sacked, and Juventus would have no hesitation in getting rid of Gasparini. This must have been too much for the now 69-year-old, as he has decided to retire. At the very least, he did win the Supercoppa Italiana. Well, the bingo got easier, not so fast, because Juventus has decided to hire Francesco Farioli. However, he could only salvage 5th place for Juventus as they will miss out on the Champions League. Regardless, if Farioli wants to enter the fray, we'll put his name down. Elsewhere, in 240 days, Roma sacked Stefano Pioli. He was replaced by Michel, and he could only salvage 9th. Who's in the top 4? 4th goes to Atalanta, as Maurizio Sarri managed a near special campaign. He finished above Juventus on goal difference and won the club's first Coppa Italia in 64 years. It looked to be even more special, as the club made the Europa League final. Sadly, they'd lose 2-0 to Ajax. Inter finished in 3rd, as Kivu's time concludes with a trophyless season, and an Italian will take over. 1 point above them is Napoli, which means Spalletti's AC Milan win the Scudetto. That makes him the 7th manager in history to win it with multiple clubs. If you want to know more about Europe, I'll tell you when a club does something significant. Alright, time for a reshuffle. Spalletti stays at AC Milan, Pioli is somehow hired by Napoli, Inter hire Maurizio Sarri, Atalanta brings in Gattuso, Juventus gives Farioli a full season, Lazio gets to enjoy Allegri's terror ball, and Roma decides to keep faith in Michel. The only other option is Conte, who remains as national team boss. So far, not so good. He lost in the Nations League quarterfinals to England and even lost the game to Poland. Season 2? Ah yes, another year of Serie A where Juventus finished in 9th? 18 losses is the most in their 130 plus year history. What the hell happened, Farioli? He got sacked on February 20th and was replaced by Antonio Conte.
I'm back.
Man would rather manage a disastrous Juventus than, well, I suppose Italy isn't much better. The sole positive of the campaign is that they made a Champions League semi-final. Wait, they finished 5th last year. Why are they in the Champions League? Italy weren't top 2 in the nation coefficient place race, yet they were given 5 spots with England. Whatever. Probably a one-time glitch. They defeated AC Milan in the round of 16, Liverpool in the quarters, and won leg 1 of their Newcastle semi-final. However, Conte's Champions League curse remained with a 7th minute red card in leg 2.
I prefer to kill him.
And a 4-0 loss. Sorry for no gameplay. With Antonio Conte back in the fray, he'll join new clubs at the end of next season. Stefano Pioli has been sacked again. Despite that, the man lifted the Italian Super Cup, a 3rd final loss for Inter. He'd be replaced by Leonardo Jardim, a name I haven't heard in at least 5 years. Napoli placed in 7th. Roma with a non-Italian manager finished 5th, which means an Italian is on the way. Massimiliano Allegri managed a Champions League spot with Lazio and a Coppa Italia. Of course, Inter lost another final. Gattuso's Atalanta placed in 3rd. Then for the Scudetto, Sarri's Inter would be runners-up again, as Spalletti goes back-to-back with AC Milan. That means Spalletti remains at Milan, Allegri to Atalanta, Farioli to Lazio, Sarri to Roma, Jardim gets preseason with Napoli, Juve continues with Conte, and Inter hire Gennaro Gattuso. For the 3rd year, Serie A concluded with a relegation playoff. Venezia survived thanks to a penalty shootout victory over Palermo. Ignoring that, I do have to bring up the 5 Champions League spots for Italian teams. I think it's a bug in the game. I used the World Cup game mode to advance to the end of the season quickly and start the experiment from there. However, despite Serie A clubs' poor European record, never finishing top 2 in the coefficient spots, 5th place keeps receiving Champions League. So if a team places in 5th, I'm gonna acknowledge them as a Europa League team in spite of their Champions League participation. Regardless of Roma playing in the wrong competition, they'll do it again, as Sarri had them finish in 5th. Atalanta with Allegri finished behind, and Lazio dropped to 8th with Farioli, who got sacked at the end of the season. For top 4, we have Spalletti's era concluding with a disappointing finish and no trophies. Jardim brought Napoli to 3rd, but who won Serie A? Gennaro Gattuso won the Scudetto with Inter. Not a sentence I thought I'd ever say. Not just that though, as Inter achieved the domestic treble. Their runner-up moniker evaporated. That means Gattuso gets another year. Meanwhile, Stefano Pioli is now the Italian manager after Grosso's Italy were eliminated in Euro 2028 in the 2nd round to Slovakia. However, will Pioli be given the chance to manage further? Nope. With Antonio Conte's traditional 2nd-year crash out, he moves to Lazio. Maurizio Sarri doesn't go anywhere, as he becomes the 2nd man on this list to retire. Not being able to improve Roma shows he's got no more to offer the game. Roma replaced him with Allegri, who needs Gattuso to not win the league next season to complete bingo. Lazio in turn only needs Spalletti. AC Milan can't win bingo though, and are forced to have Farioli as their coach. Atalanta hires Spalletti, while Napoli can't find a new manager just yet, so Jardim stays another year. For season 4, Gennaro Gattuso is invincible. No losses for Inter, as they once again won the Scudetto along with the other trophies. All they need is European silverware, but they lost in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Crazy to say that an AC Milan legend is one of the best Inter managers. He did achieve the 3rd most points in Serie A history. The runners-up are AS Roma, as Allegri still has some brilliance left. AC Milan and Juventus stumble into the top 4. At least Pioli finally didn't get sacked. Same with Farioli. Maybe he's turned around his career. Napoli barely qualified for Europe and would see Jardim depart. Both Atalanta and Lazio have been horrendous. Conte was sacked after the new year, and Atalanta stuck with Spalletti, but he had his eyes set on retirement. He couldn't wait one more year. That means both him and Lazio miss out on bingo. Moving into the last season, Gattuso obviously stays at Inter. Juventus can do whatever the hell they want since they can't complete bingo. AC Milan hired Antonio Conte. Roma can't hire anyone new, while Allegri can't join Inter. So the two stick together because why would you separate after a 2nd place finish? Farioli joins Napoli, and Atalanta hire Pioli. That means Napoli and Stefano Pioli are the winners of our bingo game. However, what will the results be by the end? And who did the best? Napoli sacked Farioli after 184 days. They finished in 9th. 3 sackings in 4 seasons should see Farioli never near a top job. Despite Pioli winning bingo, he joins Farioli as a 3-time sacked manager. He'd be replaced by Martins, that's a real name, and he brought them to the Conference League final. Unfortunately, they lost on pens. Roma with Allegri took a step back as they placed in 6th. Lazio decided to bring in some new Italian blood. He got them 5th. Juventus finished in 4th with Ole Werner, who then decided to leave for Manchester United before the campaign ended. Now they have Gerard Baticle. 3rd went to Fiorentina, so respect to them. Now, who won the title? A Gattuso 3-peat or Conte's AC Milan? Once again, Inter earned the domestic treble and lost in the Champions League semifinals to Barcelona. But wow, what an achievement for Gattuso is what I would say, but he left a month after I decided to holiday the final season. I guess he didn't want to renew his contract. Kinda screwed over Juventus in the bingo game, Gennaro. His replacement was Pep Guardiola, and they have Declan Rice, Ryan Cherky, and Jude Bellingham? That concludes my fun experiment. We know who won the bingo, but who had the most success? Obviously Gennaro Gattuso with Inter. Outside of Inter though, his sole stain is a Conference League qualification with Lazio. AC Milan had the 2nd best outcomes, finishing in the Champions League in every campaign. The most consistent manager is probably Allegri, and he also won Lazio a trophy. Atalanta were the only team to make a European final, let alone 2. Award winners throughout the years are shown on screen, and we will close it off with the Manager of the Year. Surprisingly, no Gattuso on the list, yet Conte appears? Note to all these clubs though, don't hire Pioli, and especially Farioli.